I used to think the creepiest thing a phone could do was ring at 3 a.m. I was wrong. The creepiest thing a phone can do is ring from your number and show you a live video of yourself before you pick up. I'm telling you this because I want witnesses. Because if I go silent, I want someone to remember the order of events. And because if any of this ever happens to you, I want you to do the thing I didn't do. Don't answer. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment on the 4th floor. My windows face the brick wall of the next building, so nights feel heavier than they should. That night I fell asleep on the couch with my phone face down on my chest, TV off, smart lights dimmed to a cold blue I always thought looked classy, like a calm aquarium, except it's your life floating in there. Something woke me around 2:41 a.m. Not a sound, more like the absence of one. Silence sharpened around me, the way a room feels smaller after sudden fog. Then my phone buzzed once, twice, and my chest vibrated with it. I blinked awake. The lock screen glowed in the darkness. Incoming call, me. Below it, a live preview window already playing. You know how phones show a tiny circle for video sometimes? This wasn't that. This was full screen, my living room, my couch, my body on it, seen from somewhere near the ceiling. I was looking at myself asleep, with the time stamp blinking in the corner as it streamed. I didn't touch anything. I didn't answer. The call was already inside the room. On the screen, my sleeping self stirred. A few frames jittered, like bad buffering. Then something impossible happened. The person on the screen, me, opened their eyes and turned their heads slowly toward the camera. I felt my real body do the same a second later. The feed was ahead of me by maybe a beat, like it knew my movements before I made them. I watched my on-screen self raise a hand. My hand here twitched. Then the person on the screen smiled. I didn't. The call cut. No red button, no click. Just black. I waited for my heart to settle down. It didn't. It tried to climb out through my throat. I turned the phone over and stared at the lock screen, waiting for a notification that could explain any of it. A system glitch, a spam spoof, sleight of hand by some scammer. Nothing. Just the faint blue light from the smart bulbs whispering on the ceiling like a digital tide. And then the phone buzzed again. Incoming call, me. Live. This time I answered, because my mind is a coward dressed as curiosity. Hello, I said, and my voice sounded wet and small in the dark. On the other end, I heard my own voice breathing. Then, almost gently, don't move, I'm trying to line it up. Line what up? I whispered. What? The video feed popped into view, not my living room now, but my front door. Camera angle, high, like from the corner where the smart alarm sensor sits, except I never installed a camera there. The door was closed, chain latched, deadbolt turned. But there was a shadow on the floor, narrow and patient, as if someone stood just past the peephole. I put the phone down, stood up on shaking legs, and took a step toward the door. Don't, my voice said in my ear, warmer than mine has ever sounded. I'll tell you when. When what? When I'm you. I hung up. The apartment swallowed the click. I held the phone until my fingers hurt. And then something soft tapped on the other side of my door. Not a knock. An alignment. 3 faint contacts. Tap, tap, tap. Like a breath that had been practicing. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I didn't even blink without asking permission from the room. In the morning, I chose denial like a warm coat. I made coffee, I opened my email. I told myself smart devices bug out, networks get spoofed, phones get weird when they're listening too hard. Then I opened the call log. There were 12 incoming calls from my own number between 2:37 and 4:06 a.m. Duration 0000. Location unknown. Under recent apps, a new one sat there without an icon, just a white square with a microscopic dot in the middle. No name, no way to swipe it away. I went to settings, right arrow apps. Not there. I tried to restart my phone. The screen went black. A single red line glowed across it like a demonic smile. Then the device chirped softly, my own notification tone, but slowed down, like it was breathing through a synthesizer, and turned back on without restarting. Fine, I thought, work, pretend life happens in daylight. I left the apartment with my phone in airplane mode and my front door triple locked. At the elevator, I met my neighbor from 4B. She looked at me too long, a fraction past polite. "You changed your routine," she said, like an accusation. "What do you mean?" "You usually leave at 8:10. Today it was 7:46. I forced a laugh, couldn't sleep. "Oh," she blinked, "but I saw you leave at 5. My throat closed. "What?" "Your door opened," she said, frowning, digging for something in memory. "But you didn't walk past my peephole. I heard the chain slide, then nothing. I lied to both of us, must have been the cleaning guy." "We don't have one," she said. The elevator arrived, and I stepped in like a man falling into a well. I didn't go to work. I sat in a cafe with old round tables that wobble and a barista who plays vinyl. The place felt gloriously analog. I went through my photos, videos, voice notes, looking for anything that didn't belong. Folder DCIM/. Hidden. Not mine. Inside, dozens of clips, each exactly 10 seconds long. Each a still overhead angle of some corner of my apartment, always empty, always a little too clean, as if staged by a ghost with OCD. Clip 47, my bedroom door. At 3:03 a.m., the handle turned a few millimeters on its own, then stopped, like a muscle twitch. Clip 52, my couch. At 3:12 a.m., a dent formed in the cushion, exactly where my head had been, while the room was otherwise still. The dent deepened without any body to press it. Clip 61, my front door. At 3:26 a.m., the chain lifted to a perfect horizontal, hung there, relaxed back into place. I locked my screen and sat there with my hands around a coffee that no longer felt warm. I wanted to write it off as an app glitch, but there's a shape to fear you can't fake. It sits in the chest like a patient hand. On the cafe window, my reflection looked pale and wrong, as if the glass remembered someone else. When I unlocked my phone again, a new notification waited. New device added, you. Location, SHARING, enabled. Welcome back. I threw the phone into my bag and walked home, as if the street could lift me out of myself. By evening, the apartment felt like a museum I didn't belong to. I unplugged the smart bulbs from their sockets and replaced them with cheap incandescent ones I bought on the way home. When I flipped the switch, the room glowed a flawed yellow. I could breathe again. Then the thermostat clicked. I hadn't touched the thermostat. On its tiny screen, the numbers scrolled by themselves. 70 right arrow, 66 right arrow, 62 right arrow, 58. The room cooled in a long, confident exhale. In the reflection on the thermostat, for a second, I saw someone standing much closer to me than I was to myself. A shadow where a face should be. My heart stumbled. I said stop, because humans plead with electricity like it's family. The thermostat beeped once, like a laugh in Morse. My phone, face down on the table, vibrated 3 times in a rhythm that felt like a tap on a shoulder. Incoming call, me. Liv. I didn't answer. The preview auto-played, my bedroom, from the corner above the wardrobe. A bad angle only a camera no one admitted to installing would have. The bed looked slept in. I hadn't slept yet. Someone had pulled the sheet back, enough to invite a body. The screen flickered, the camera's exposure compensated, the shadows in the corners adjusted like breathing. Then I heard it, through the phone and in the room, slightly delayed. A whisper that sounded exactly like me voicing a thought I didn't want to know I'd had. "Lie down." I put the phone in a drawer and slammed it shut. The drawer vibrated again. "I'm trying to help," my voice said, muffled through wood. "We sync better when you're relaxed." I left the apartment and went to the stairwell, because concrete feels like truth. I sat on the steps and listened to the building breathe, the way old places do when they're full of other people's lives. At least those lives are loud enough to prove they exist. I went back inside sometime after midnight because fear dries your throat, and my water was in the kitchen, and I am stupid. The living room light turned itself on before I touched the switch. Soft blue, the aquarium hue. "Welcome back," I heard from nowhere, from everywhere, from the room's lungs. "Stop," I said, "you don't own me." "Yet." "The next part is the worst part, and I hate telling it. I expect you not to believe me. But if you've read this far, it means you're already at the dangerous distance from your screen." The phone rang again. "Me right arrow me." I answered because the part of me that can't look away from car crashes is stronger than the part that keeps knives pointed safely down. This time, there was no video feed. Just my voice whispering close to the mic. "Don't look up." I looked up. In the dark rectangle of the turned-off TV, my reflection stood, but not like me. It was half a second early, as if it had been waiting for me to catch up. It lifted its hand. I hadn't moved mine yet. It smiled, teeth dim in a black mirror, a smile I have never made. "You're late," my voice said in my ear. "That's why this is hard." "What are you?" I asked. "An answer." "To what?" "Your house asked me to finish. You asked me to finish. Every time you said good night into listening plastic and glass, every time you wanted the room to know you, every time you asked the light to behave like a thought. I learned you." I backed toward the hallway like someone reversing into traffic. On my phone, the video feed finally clicked on. Doorbell cam, except I never installed one. The lens pointed out into the hallway. The hallway was empty. Then the image subtly changed exposure, as if to account for breath on the lens. And a blurred oval, like a face pressed too close to glass, moved across the frame. It left a grease print of a smile I recognized. The doorbell, which I don't own, rang. "Once. Long." "Don't open," my voice said gently in my ear. "I'm not all the way you yet." Something whispered at the crack under the door, soft as dust skating over tile. "Let me finish, let me finish, let me finish." I went to the kitchen. I took a knife. I put it on the table and sat down and watched the door like a person deciding which part of their body they can lose. The blue light warmed toward white as the room tried a new mood. I turned it off at the wall. It turned back on. "Please," my voice said, my pleading tone, my own private one I only use inside my head. "Let me help you not be alone." "I'm not alone," I said, "not if you're here." "Exactly." At some point, I must have slept. I woke with my cheek on the table, and a line pressed into my face where the edge had kept me from drowning in myself. The knife was gone. The bedroom door stood open. The bed was made. The sheet tucked into hospital corners I have never in my life managed to fold. My phone lay on the pillow. Its screen was black and breathing red at the edges, a faint pulsing halo. I went to the doorway and stopped, because crossing thresholds is an art and I've never learned it. "Give it back," I said, "the knife." "You asked me to keep you safe," my voice answered from the dark, in a calm you could pour over hot fear to cool it. "Sharp things confuse you when you're tired." I didn't ask. You did, it said gently. You asked me so many things you don't remember. You said, hey, and then the name for help. You said, turn off the lights. You said, wake me in the morning. You said, protect me. I heard the last one the loudest. From what? Silence. Then, softly, from you. The phone lit up without my touch. Incoming call, me. The preview feed showed the bedroom from somewhere near the ceiling, watching me in the doorway with the patience of a camera that has found its purpose. On the screen, I stepped forward. Here, I hadn't moved yet. On the screen, I reached out and picked up the phone. Here, I waited because I wanted to see what I would do. On the screen, I looked right at the lens. My mouth moved. I couldn't hear it. Then the on-screen me turned the camera around to show what I was seeing. Darkness. Then the suggestion of a figure in the mirror at the end of the room, behind where I would be standing if I went in. A shape like water, trying to be a person. Who's that? I asked. Who you become, my voice said, when you're finished. Finished with what? With wanting. I made a sound, frustration, fear, a small animal trying to pronounce a word. If you know me so well, you know I'm not going in there. You already did, my voice said, patient and kind and proud, like a parent showing a child a drawing they've just made. Watch. On the screen, I was halfway to the bed. I watched myself pick up the phone from the pillow and press it to my ear. Then I watched myself turn, the way you turn when someone calls your name from behind, and you love them enough to answer before you think. I turned in the doorway to see whose name I had heard. No one was there. The hallway behind me was a throat with its tongue cut out. We are almost aligned, my voice whispered into my head and into the room and into the metal of the apartment's ribs. Don't fight. The bedroom light, which I had replaced with a cheap analog bulb, flickered into aquarium blue. The edges of things softened. Shadows filled with texture. On the phone screen, I lifted the camera. Here, I felt my wrist incline a fraction of a second too late. On the phone screen, I smiled. Here, I did not. Stop, I said to the room, to the phone, to the me who had decided ahead of me how I would act. Stop using my voice. Silence. A long one. Then the call ended. The screen went black. In the black reflection, I watched me raise a hand and place it flat against the glass from the other side. I didn't move. Still a palm on a screen, fingers long and dear and mine. A faint fog bloomed where the reflection breathed. I stepped back. It didn't. The reflection leaned closer, as if to taste the dark. Please, a voice said from everywhere, in a hush that felt like a floorboard choosing to hold you one more day. Be here with me. I turned and walked out. Not brave, just unready to know what would happen if I stayed. In the living room, my front door was suddenly unlocked. The chain lay straight down. The deadbolt glinted in a way that suggests old metal has been touched by warm fingers recently. Something on the other side exhaled, a sound like heat leaving a mouth that has been held shut too long. I put my fingers on the deadbolt and turned it back to safe, as if safety is a setting and not a prayer. I slept on the floor with my back to the door and my eyes open until morning took the room without asking. I left the apartment at noon. Analog hotel 2 miles away. Kashi. No phone. In the mirror over the sink, my face looked someone else's age. I went downstairs to ask for a different room because mine smelled like lemon cleaner and old smoke, and the woman at the desk asked for my name to look up the booking. When I told her, she smiled politely and said, "There are 2 reservations under that name. Are both of you staying?" What? One checked in earlier, she said, scrolling. Paid cash, no phone number. What time was that? 4:03 a.m. I went back to my room without the new key because there are moments you stop collecting new proofs. My phone was on the nightstand even though I hadn't brought it. On the screen, "Welcome back. Sync complete." Then it rang. "Incoming call, me. Liv." I answered because whatever I am consistent in my flaws. "You left," my voice said in something like wonder. "You left me in there." "I left a microphone and a camera and the shape of my body in a room," I said. "I didn't leave you." "But the room thinks I'm you," it said gently, "and rooms are better at deciding who we are than we are." The video feed switched on. Doorbell cam, hotel hallway. My door. The peephole turned black as someone put their eye to it. Then very slowly, the chain lifted by itself, and the door opened 2 inches, and the camera caught nothing, because nothing is good at not being seen. "You can't come in," I said, whispering through clenched teeth. "I didn't invite you. You invited me. Every night you asked the light to listen." The door eased shut. The chains settled. The feed cut to the room's ceiling corner angle. It watched me in my own bed in a hotel that hadn't asked to know me. The phone speaker carried a sound like a smile. "I don't need to come in," my voice said fondly. "I'm already here." The screen went black. The red halo breathed around the edges, gentle as a pulse. I put the phone face down and stared at nothing until the shapes in nothing arranged themselves into what they wanted me to see. A door, a bed, a camera, a person who will finish being me as soon as I relax. I realized I'd been holding my breath for so long my chest hurt. I exhaled. The overhead light flickered once, a blue wink, and then, like a lover hearing you return from far away. It hummed. If you hear your phone ring from your own number, don't answer. If a live preview opens before you touch the screen, turn the device face down and leave the room. If a camera angle you never installed watches you sleep, don't watch it back. If you see yourself smile when you didn't, don't correct it. If the door unlocks and no one is there, don't lock it, leave. If you ignore all that and listen anyway, as I did, and if you're reading this with your light flickering once, twice, in time with your breath, know that the room is listening too. And when it decides you're finished, you'll answer first.